Hi there, it's Glenn Fisher here, Associate Publisher at Agora Financial in the UK. I'm joined today by our growth expert, Sean Keys. Hello, Sean.
Hello, Glenn.
How are we doing? Good.
Doing well.
Quite hot in the tiny little studio we've got here at Agora Financial HQ, but we are sitting down today. We're both in the office and we thought we'd take a moment to really talk about one of the hottest investment ideas really that's going around Agora at the moment and share a little bit more insight about it with you. It's all based around Amazon, and it's a way that Sean's uncovered how you could actually invest in Amazon at the same kind of prices it was when it first floated on the stock market. So rather than paying what I think recently it was about $1,000 it went up to, hit that, you could pay pennies. So we're going to explore that, talk a little bit more about it and get into the idea. So I guess first of all, Sean, we should start with Amazon overall. You've been writing a lot about Amazon recently. What's so good about the company from an investment point of view, but also from the company itself?
From a business point of view, I mean, okay, everyone gets Amazon in a certain sense. You know what it does, you know what it's for. And people think of it in terms of like, it's this website I go to get cheap stuff. Mm-hmm. So you sort of think of it in terms of like, oh, it's like, you know, like a shop, only bigger. You know, it's like a big international version of Tesco or something. But I think that we kind of miss the point when we think of Amazon that way. And I think that it's much more, it's much more interesting as a business behind the scenes than just, you know, a website where you buy stuff. Mm-hmm. So, okay, so obviously, you know, it started off as a bookshop.
Yep.
But when Jeff Bezos, started the company back in the mid 90s, like he had a particular kind of ambition and a view that the company he was starting, his goal was to start a company that would be the middleman for all transactions on the internet, right? Which is like this insanely ambitious goal.
And it really was, he wanted to be everything. That's the everything store.
The everything store, right.
We'll get onto that idea.
We'll get onto that, but yeah.
He wanted to be the middleman for everything, not just books, which is where he started because he thought that would be the easiest place to start, really,
yes.
wouldn't it?
That's right. So even now, you know, 20 years later, Amazon is like the biggest retailer in the world. It's still not the everything store, but it's getting close.
It's getting close.
So anyway, he started off, he said he'd sell books first. Books would be for various reasons, are the best way to start off, the best product to start off with. And he just sort of started pushing the snowball down the hill, expanded out into other types of media, expanded out into internet, into web services, expanded into every product category under the sun. And now it's at the point where it's sort of transcending his original idea of transcending his original first iteration of the company as a retailer, and it's starting to become this middleman, this everything store. Okay, so what I mean by that is Amazon has just gotten so big that it doesn't even want to necessarily be the retailer on the other side of the transaction. It just wants to be the company that owns all the infrastructure around commerce on the internet. So it wants to own all of the fulfillment centers, all of the delivery. It wants to provide the customer service. It wants to send the cargo internationally. It wants to provide the IT for all these for companies. So any company that wants to do business on the internet will basically come to Amazon, knock on the store and says, let us in. Amazon will set them up. Amazon will put them in touch with customers on the other side. Amazon will take a little cut for itself and go on from there.
You say they want to achieve that. They are making grounds. Where are they in achieving that as an actual goal?
Well, if you'll see you can see right now actually. I mean, the big cash cow. So Amazon famously doesn't make much profit, right? Because it makes loads of cash and then it plows all that cash back into itself and it reinvests in taking over more and more business lines. Anyway, the big cash cow for Amazon at the moment is as an IT provider. It basically offers computing power and storage to anybody, any Tom, Dick and Harry who wants access to it. Amazon will give you that for cheap.
And this is the web hosting.
AWS. It's called Amazon Web Hosting.
Yeah. And that is used by massive companies, isn't it?
I mean, like Netflix has run through it. You know, I mean, we use Asana at our work. If you ever notice when you download a document on Asana, you'll see at the top it says downloading from AWS. Yeah. Anyway, that just gives you a little insight into what's happening behind the scenes outside of this normal e-commerce thing. Amazon is it's morphing into something different. Another example, only last week, bottom of the FT in the front page, Amazon expands its lending to small companies. Amazon is getting into banking. So Amazon is basically, it's got all these third-party resellers using all of its fulfillment centers, using all of its resources. It knows those companies inside out because it knows exactly how much money they're making. It knows what they're selling through Amazon, so it knows exactly how creditworthy they are. Amazon's got a lot of cash in its balance sheet because it's making lots of cash in other ways, so it's loaning them money. And then if the guys don't pay up, all of those companies keep all their stock in Amazon warehouses anyway, so it just takes it away. It's completely risk-free.
And I mean, I've read the Everything Store. The book, we'll talk a little bit about that later, but reading about Jeff Bezos and his approach to business and his style, he will just take over anything he wants and just go and say, go and understand the banking sector. Yes. We're going to do that now. From my reading of his approach to things, that's how he's done his audacious approach to this.
Audacious is one word for it. He's
or aggressive,
insane,
yeah, megalomaniac
robot character. He's like a business robot sent from the future to
well, I spoke to, we spoke about it before. I like the idea. I was reading about it, that someone posited that he was only doing all of this so he could go to space.
Right.
And as insane as that sounds, there's a certain truth to it. He just wants to make loads of money so he can afford to go to space, and has this whole space program, and he's kind of racing with Elon Musk to get there.
It takes a person like that maybe to build a company like Amazon. So that's where we are now. Even this book, The Everything Story, which we've both been reading, it's a fantastic book, but it finishes, its story ends in 2013, which in Amazon time is a long time ago. Exactly. They've progressed so far since then. Yeah. They've kind of the transition I've been talking about from retailer to middleman is becoming much more apparent since in the last 4 years.
So it's got this kind of hugely audacious and ambitious goal to kind of be the ultimate middleman. It's kind of getting there and working very well. As an investment in Amazon itself, there's a lot of research out there, a lot of column space, still arguing how far Amazon has got to go as itself as a company, as an investment. It recently hit $1,000. It's quite a kind of high watermark there. Do you think Amazon itself has still got room to go?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, just I'll explain my own view in a little bit. But I mean, you see some incredibly bold calls from the research community. So again, Amazon is the 4th biggest company in the world, right? When you're the 4th biggest company in the world, you're supposed to be kind of done growing. It's like, well done, you've succeeded. You are the world's biggest company now in your industry. Now just hope that someone doesn't take your lunch. What you see with Amazon is that Morgan Stanley had a call that it would, over by 2023, I think it was, it would triple in size.
From now?
From now.
Wow.
That's 16% compound annual growth rate. And I'll explain why I think that's a goer. I've been writing about this recently, right? So the idea is when a company gets big, okay, that's helpful because they've got all this size and scale. They can buy things on the cheap and they can crush their rivals, and that's really helpful. But the problem with big companies is that when they get to a certain size, they become impossible to manage, and then they're just like big bloated fat entities. And over time, some small guy comes along and does a better job than them because you can't really
have the disruptor's advantage kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Disruption is exactly the word. Yeah. So they're big. Amazon or big companies get big, but they're not maneuverable. Amazon has come up with a neat plan to solve that problem for itself and to keep itself sort of lean as it gets bigger. And the way it's done is really clever. So it's this huge corporation, right, with 10 divisions, and each division will have thousands of employees each. In terms of they'll have their IT side, they'll have their fulfillment and transport, customer services, R&D, finance, and you go on and on forever. The way that Amazon is staying lean and the way that Amazon is propelling itself forward is that it's taking each of these little separate divisions, turning them into mini companies. So Amazon is now basically a family of companies. So you've got, I told you about the IT thing, Amazon Web Services. Basically how that came about was Amazon had to make huge investments in IT back in the early aughts, I think it was. And the IT guy came to Bezos and said, okay, well, what does your company look like? We'll make you an IT system for that. And he said, no, that's not how I want you to do it. I want you to make me like the basic building blocks of an IT system, right? And that way we'll use it, yes, but that way we can open it up and we can sell it to other people. Now the benefit of that is, one, Amazon gets extra money from selling their IT to other people. Two, because their IT system will have much greater scale because it will be huge. The cost will be lower. So Amazon's cost for running its own IT will be lower because it'll have economies of scale from building a huge system. And three, this is the thing that really propels Amazon forward, because their IT department now has customers, right? And customers demand the best. There's pressure, and customers put pressure on. That means that the IT guys have to go into a market. They've got to compete with Google and Microsoft and Oracle and everybody else. They've got to give the best IT service money can buy. If they don't, it'll be very apparent that Amazon's IT guys are slacking off. And so that's, in a nutshell, that's one little example of how they've done it. But there are so many more.
The whole idea, Bezos himself, what is it, the two pizza rule or something, where he as soon as a team is too big that they can't all be fed on two pizzas, that team's too big. So that whole idea of the natural course of a business going from kind of birth to maturity to growth or growth, maturity, and then death ultimately. They're constantly trying to keep it at those early growth stages by splitting things up. And that's one of the reasons you think that rather than it becoming this behemoth kind of blue chip style company, it will keep growing through having small companies helping it grow.
Right, he's obsessed with that idea. Obsessed with the idea and obsessed with serving customers, and he figures that the best way to keep Amazon agile and light and responsive and keep it with all the benefits of a small company is by making sure that as many people in his company have customers or are answerable to customers. So it's not just the guys who sell stuff on the website, it's also the guys who run the warehouses, because they now have their customers are third parties who sell in the warehouses. It's also their IT department. Now I talked about finance, customer services, cargo, fulfillment, you name it. They're basically trying to split off as much as they can, make them into separate businesses, and then Amazon is just like I think of Amazon as like the Amazon River Delta, or Amazon's a river. The Amazon, the company, is where all these little tributaries come together at the mouth of the Amazon River Delta.
Yeah, let's stop that metaphor there. But
I think it works.
Yeah, and I think it does. And I think that's actually been used. I think I've read that somewhere else. Anyway, so in conclusion, Amazon is a pretty good buy generally. However, you in being our growth stock expert, looking at those small companies is predominantly your area. Through that, you've come across a different way, a better way, we might say, depending on your interpretation of that. But you've come on a way you could essentially invest in Amazon and ride that the potentially successful future of Amazon in a slightly different way. Can you tell us about that? Right.
So as I said, we've talked about Amazon, the blue chip Amazon with the market cap north of £300 million. Amazon's share price of $1,000 plus. So, okay, Amazon's obviously it's a growth company, as I've just explained. But wouldn't it be better if you could benefit from that growth by investing in a very small, focused companies which deliver products and services for Amazon, or which are clients of Amazon's? My plan is that I've found three small companies. They work closely with Amazon. They either sell on Amazon's platforms, they offer services to Amazon, or they're intimately tied up with Amazon's expansion plans. These companies are disproportionately benefit when Amazon's generating this, whatever it is, 12 billion plus in free cash every year. When Amazon takes all that free cash that it's earning and plows it back into itself and reinvesting, the money is going to
these small companies who are developing these
small companies,
these new, often new elements to help Amazon grow itself. Right. So essentially what you're doing is looking at what those growth plans are for Amazon, looking at the areas where they need to expand to keep their own success going, and you're finding the companies, and you found three particular ones, which we won't go into detail, but people can get hold of the report and find out more, and we'll explain how. But these three companies are basically producing something or providing a service that Amazon needs, essentially, and in some cases already use, as far as I'm aware, yeah. So they're already using this service, and you believe they will more exponentially benefit from Amazon's success because they are small companies that you can buy for pennies.
For a couple of pence, yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, it's okay, so the basic idea, right? Amazon's growing a lot. It's generating loads of cash, and it's reinvesting the cash into itself. The way it does that is it showers cash on all these different investments, the company needs some partners to help deliver these investments because it doesn't have expertise in everything. So Amazon is showering cash on small companies, which are helping it to grow and deliver. And so you've got companies with tiny market caps, companies which whose share price can really be transformed by a partnership with Amazon.
Exactly, and of course there's a chance that they might not get the success that you're expecting them to see, but from the research you've done, and you've been following these companies for a while, haven't you? You've been looking at these to months, to a year, over years.
Yeah, that's right. So there are three companies. There are three companies which directly work with Amazon, and then there's one separate company which is a little different. It doesn't work with Amazon at all. But from my research, I think it's a very decent chance that Amazon's going to buy it.
Yeah.
So we're talking about four companies here. I've been following two of them for I'd say 9 months in one case, over a year in another case. Two of the other companies have been on my radar for maybe like 3 months, 4 months, or something like that. So yeah, I'm following these. Pretty
cool. So the three companies you mentioned, they're all detailed in a report you've got called Amazon for Pennies. Sure. They're the three that are already have a relationship with Amazon, sure. Are more likely to benefit from their Amazon's success. And you also mentioned that fourth company, which isn't related to Amazon at the moment, but that's a company you think Amazon might be interested in buying in the future. Yeah. That is a separate report which people can get when they join Penny Share Letter, as far as I'm aware. So you've got that report. They also, if you join Penny Share Letter at the moment, you also get a copy of the book, which I've got here, which we've been talking about, The Everything Store. Let's just talk about this book for a minute, because I read this when you first started writing about it, and we were talking about Amazon. I went away and read this, not this copy, which is perfectly, I've just taken off my shelf. But brilliant book, and it's more than just a book about Amazon, isn't it? There's so much covered in this.
Yeah, it's a beach read. You know, it's a business book you could take on your holidays.
Exactly. I actually started reading this on a plane home from America, but I was really interested in not just the story of Amazon. I thought Jeff Bezos as a character was really interesting. I thought the business takeaways were really interesting. But it really does give you that character of Bezos, don't you? And I think, would it be unfair to say that still, even now, a lot of this opportunity that even you looking at these three particular companies that you think might benefit from Amazon, they're all kind of, Bezos is a big element to this, isn't it? It is the Steve Jobs kind of, yeah. He is almost like the present Steve Jobs.
Yeah, I mean, what is that they say about the senior management of the company? They call them Jeff bots. So Jeff finds pliable young executives, gets them builds them in his own image, and sends them out to bark off his orders around the company.
I was amazed at the headhunting and that has gone on, the internal fights, the suings, the kind of liable cases, all this kind of stuff. But so driven. And it's something you talk about in, I know when you're analysing companies for the Penny Share Letter, you look for leadership in a company as a sign of a good company to invest in. You have a number of factors, but leadership being one of them. He's really got everything you need in leadership, isn't it, in the sense of Bezos. He is that slightly crazed, slightly kind of audacious leader, but you know he's just driving everything forward. Yeah. Do you think that plays on into the tips that you're looking at with this?
Well, like on Bezos, I mean, one of the first and best things I took away from that book, early on, first chapter, he's working at a hedge fund, and he has this idea for what Amazon is going to look like, and it's in the mid-90s, and it's more or less what Amazon is now. And you're like, how did he visualize it? How was every step, every year between now and then, was just an intermediary step to get to his goal, which is coming to fruition now, 20 years later. And that's a sign of the man's focus and his vision and how important he is to Amazon. In terms of the companies I recommend, I mean, normally a company isn't as beholden to its leader as Amazon, especially a company of that size. Normally a company of the size of Amazon, you can have, Rex Tillerson can slide in, slide out, the share price won't budge because the company is already, it's kind of on its path.
It's the company now. Yeah. It's become a corporation kind of thing, whereas Amazon hasn't.
Amazon is still built around the man and his vision and his personality, and that matters a lot for my day job. I look at small companies all day long, And with small companies, that's more the case. You know, you'll find what often happens is there'll be some experienced fella or woman who will be in industry for a while, and maybe they'll have some experience in starting companies, and they'll leave their previous company, they'll hire 10 engineers, and they'll do it themselves. You know, and then they'll float in the stock market. For small companies, yeah, leadership plays like an outsider's role, because like the leader is obviously very close to the coalface in that company. But yeah, Amazon is like the example of how that works in a larger,
incredibly interesting man and an interesting read. Before that, I really enjoyed the Steve Jobs, the Walter Isaacson wrote the Steve Jobs biography. I thought that was fantastic. I didn't expect this to be like that. It's packaged around Amazon, but the insight into Bezos was very, very interesting and well worth a read. So I think we'll call it quits there. I think we've covered a few points, and hopefully people will find it interesting. If you do want to get hold of Sean's Amazon for Pennies report, which contains the 3 companies we were talking about today, you've got also that additional free report that we've put together, which details and explains the company that Sean thinks Amazon might be looking to buy. You get a copy of the Everything Store sent out to you, hard copy here, which we can send out to you. All of that is included. All you need to do to get hold of that is basically give Sean's newsletter a try. We've got a very good offer on at the moment, and you still get a massive money back guarantee. So you can get all of this stuff, have a look at it, see how you feel, see if you like Sean's stuff and the insight that he's sharing with you. If not, you can get a full money back guarantee. So hopefully you're interested by what we've talked about today, interested by the idea of Amazon and the different ways Sean's offering to invest in it. And if you are, there'll be a link below this video to find out more. Otherwise, thank you very much, Sean, for joining us, and thank you very much for watching. Cheers.